can join there, did a show this week for our Patreons where we did vertical board, horizontal board with projections. I did a pretty below adequate, maybe inadequate job. Probably shouldn't be saying that. But I
sign up to our inadequate Patreon.
Well, what I did was I'm still like getting used to my projections. Obviously, I've done them and I've got them up, and you can find those at Patreon, where you can get access to that. And there's a really cool sheet where you can actually input your league scoring in there, which is good. And the whole point of that is that you basically was doing that to identify your team needs versus best player available and what was the right option to do per pick. And I picked in the middle, so I'd have the most amount of time to prepare. So yeah, it should be all good and ready to go. So I'm going to, before we bring on our first two guests, Ian and Pete, I suppose I better do the draft order, right? Because no one knows what the draft order is. I've kept people on tenterhooks for that. I probably better also present, and I'm going to have this up at all times. Hey Bill, how's it going? People pop in the chat. It's popping tonight, which is good. Right, so I'm going to pop sleeper. We're going to shrink down. That's pretty big. Is that probably as good as we're going to get? I think. Yeah.
I'll tell you what you need to do, people. You need to go and find your television and stream this to your television screen, or if you have YouTube, head over to YouTube and come watch on there.
Absolutely. If you're listening to this on the podcast, this is definitely one of those that I would recommend watching. We will do our best to narrate this as we go along, but we might fail at the same point as well. So, right, let me set the. I'm just warning. Right, so here we better randomize the order. So, how lucky is that? We've got Pete, who's going to be joining us in a second, who's going to have the first pick. So that's handy. So I'll get them on, and then we'll get ready to click start. And then Ian, who's also joining us, is picking after me. So there'll be some sniping in the first little segment, which is going to be quite good. So let me bring on Pete and Ian to the show. Fellas, how's it going?
Evening, guys. How's it going? You okay?
Yeah, it's good to have you. How are we doing?
Stocks, nice to meet you, mate.
You too, buddy. Yeah. Welcome in.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. I was having a really good night until you just did that order. So
what do you mean you got the one pick? It's all good.
I don't want the one pick. So
well, there you go.
That takes the excitement away from the first round.
Can we trade picks?
No, we won't have time. You got 60 seconds per pick. Speaking of which, I'm going to do your intro while Pete is going to go and pick, because I'm going to hit the start draft button now. So in terms of Ian and Pete, they host the JMD podcast, otherwise known as Jefferson My Drink. What's the story behind the name, fellas? And then I'll let you guys do a bit of a plug-in intro, and then we'll get into talking about why Pete took Christian McCaffrey at the 101.
So the story behind our name is I'm obviously a Bengals fan, and my team name was named after Joe Mixon, Mixing My Drinks. And then a couple of years ago, as I was on the clock, my options were either Joe Mixon or Justin Jefferson. And they said, everyone in the draft were like, if you don't take Joe Mixon based on your team name, you have to change your team name. And I didn't. I took JJ. And it's the year he went off and actually won the league that year. So every time my team name comes up, it's just Jefferson My Drinks, even though in some leagues it has still remained Mixing My Drinks.
I love that. That's amazing. That's a fun story. And so how long have you guys been podding? And I'm going to hand over to Pete to ask about why he's taken
well,
Amanda.
Funnily enough, I got an email from our podcast hosts today to say it's our 1 year anniversary today of the first time we put a podcast live. So we have officially been doing it for 12 months. So this is we are going into our second season a little bit more advanced and knowing a little bit more now than we did 12 months ago.
Wow, that's amazing. I was on recently. You can check that out. We had a good time. I'm sure I'll be back at some point. Definitely do go check out their amazing podcast. Pete, why Christian McCaffrey at the 101? I know it seems like a bit of an obvious question, but let's.
I think there's. I mean, after last season and the team he's in, I don't think there's any argument. I've done a few mocks. I've seen a few other things where other people are thinking a little bit too much about it. I think, and taking CeeDee Lamb or a Tyreek Hill. But for me, there's no alternative to Christian McCaffrey. If he has a season anything like last year, it's good enough to carry your team, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. Stocks, you took CeeDee Lamb at the 103.
I did.
I like that.
You thinking behind that?
I don't have CeeDee Lamb anywhere across any of my dynasty drafts, so I took a player I don't have a lot of shares of, and that is purely it.
That makes sense. He's my wide receiver 2 this year, so I don't have a problem with that in the slightest. I took Jamar Chase. I kind of tossed between Chase and Hall, and I kind of thought, well, Hall does get a bit banged up. I'll go with the slightly safer pick. So I went with Chase, but I can understand why Ian went with Breece Hall at 6.
Yeah, I think especially in 12 team leagues, I'll always prioritize running backs early doors. You run out of depth on running backs early when there's 12 teams on it.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick. I think that they were the two I was torn between. Oh, Joel's going to time out here if he's not careful. Joel, I know you're watching because you've been in the chat. You've got 3 seconds. Oh, first auto.
Come on.
Bijan.
It's not the worst auto in the world, is it?
Well, I don't think you're going to get a bad auto in round 1. So the draft has gone so far. McCaffrey at 1. Hill has gone at 2. Lamb at 3. Jefferson at 4. Chase at 5. Breece Hall at 6. Amon St. Brown has gone at 7. AJ Brown at 8. And then Bijan Robinson at 9. It was a auto pick, but maybe it was queued. I don't know. It's not the worst pick anyway. And then Danny has just picked, he'll be on in a bit. He has picked Jonathan Taylor, and we're now up to James, who is picking at the 111. So while that's going on, I guess it's probably a bit early, but this is all in the spirit of fun. Does anyone want to volunteer their strategy, what they're thinking about in this draft? Appreciate it's only round 1. You probably don't want to give away all your secrets, but this is an educational podcast. But I know you're also trying to win. So,
I don't mind talking about mine because I've got to make a mess of it anyway, aren't I? So I might as well tell you in advance. I've done. We were talking about on our most recent podcast that came out this morning about quarterbacks in general and how deep I think the quarterback market is really deep this year, and I'd quite happily take the 12th quarterback on the board. So that's one. I mean, for me, it's trying if you can to stock up on wide receivers and running backs. I'm not as confident on the sort of 10th, 12th tight end on the board, but I'm quite happy to let quarterbacks drop and everybody else take them early if indeed that's what happens.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a fair strategy. Anyone else want to volunteer theirs?
Yeah, I don't mind going because obviously me and Pete focus mainly on 8-team leagues, so the strategy for a 12-team league won't give away too much for most of our listeners. But as I've said, I will always prioritize running backs early. Most teams now are running a dual backfield, so you're having a true running back 1. You are really short of those. You can get more depth in receivers further down. And like Pete said, I'm happy to wait on quarterbacks in 1 QB leagues. Because if you get, Justin Herbert's going at 15 to 17, which is ridiculous. And I don't mind waiting for that, even though he is going to be in a run-heavy offense this year.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting scenario. I think if you look at the breaks, I think there is a stronger quarterback market than there has been in future years. I still think there is this potential tier, and I think there is this opportunity to take and get an advantage at QB. But then again, if you get those picks right in the mid range, you could potentially offset that by having a much deeper roster, especially with the way injuries have gone. Stocks, are you going to volunteer some strategy, or do you want me to go? I don't mind.
I was going to go running back, but considering there's basically nobody left now, I am thinking of going wide receiver again. I thought somebody might get back to me, but I'm not entirely happy. I mean, there's a couple that I might consider here that might slightly be early, but I think I'm going to punch a wide receiver before the turn and then see what gets back to me, if anything, on running back.
I feel like everyone's been listening to Ian's strategy and just gone, I'm going to take all the running backs on the
I must be running backs now, so I can't.
Yeah,
running back, and it's not going to be an option for me at this point now.
We should probably update the listeners, if you are listening to the audio version, as to what has just happened in the pick wise. So we left you with Jonathan Taylor at the 110. And then, so it's gone Puka Nacua at the 111, Jahmyr Gibbs at 112, Garrett Wilson at the 2-1, Saquon Barkley at the 2-2, Kyron Wilson at the 2-3, Josh Jacobs at the 2-4, Isaiah Pacheco at the 2-5, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. has gone at the 2-6. So it's now on Ian at the 2-7. So yeah, lots of running backs have gone, and you've picked Davante Adams. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, the thing is, Davante Adams, because most of the mocks that I've been looking at have been Dynasty and Best Ball. And Davante Adams, being the age that he is, he's not someone that's particularly attractive, especially in Dynasty. And I do like going with the experience of someone like Davante, who's done it year in, year out for my redraft leagues. And I think he's in a really good position. He's in a really good setup. He's pretty unchallenged in terms of targets. Jacoby Myers isn't going to take much away from him. And I think Gardner Minshew, if he gets the starting job, will do quite a lot to get the ball with Davante Adams' hands.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So I am going to take here Chris Olave is who I'm going to go with here. Effectively, looking at ranges of picks and looking at who's available, it's probably the most obvious pick. I don't necessarily like going with the most obvious pick. I could have pivoted a couple of different ways, but I'm kind of hoping to see who lurks back into the third round to see how I pivot and make a decision. But I'm sort of playing the board here as well. Like, I've got a feeling that some people know my strategy a little bit for 2024. I'll be honest about my strategy a little bit, in the sense of I really am working. I have an ideal roster construction, which is effectively to I do want to take a premium quarterback. I'm not necessarily going to overreach, but I will take a premium quarterback if it falls into the right range and the right option. And effectively, these first few rounds is about just getting players who are going to build a good base for me. And then I think it's those differential picks in the middle rounds. So, I've got players here that I think are going to finish top 12 of the position, and I'm effectively going to try and do that in the first 4 picks, which sounds quite hard considering, it's 12 teams. You need to get 2 running backs now in the top 12 picks, and given how many you've got, that's going to be hard. But I trust myself to find some value, or look at quarterback and still try and do the same, and then have a think about what happens in the later rounds. I think the first 4 rounds, I think this will be quite chalky, and I don't think anyone's going to walk away from the first 4 rounds this year with a significant advantage. I think it's really going to be the way championships are going to be. Or rosters going to put you in good position at those rounds 5 through 8. I think that's where your differential is going to be. I think there's the first 48 players, I think, are going to be pretty good. Ultimately, I look at players that are going to go in the 3rd and 4th round, and then I think you're going to be in a good spot most of the time. I don't think you're going to get. I think you normally, in previous years, I don't think there's been the depth and talent, so you've kind of had this drop off around the 310, 311, and then into the 4th round. But I think with the influx of rookies the last few years, I think running backs fairly deep, and I think that wide receivers quite deep, and then you have the quarterbacks and tight ends into play. I think the first 48 picks are going to be pretty good for most people, and then it's just what happens in the next 48 picks after that, I think, will determine the outcome of this draft.
Yeah, I think the first 48 picks for most people is key there, because there's usually one person in the group that just goes completely off-piste. And there's the old saying, like, you can't win your league in the first 4 rounds of your draft, but you can definitely lose it.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think there's definitely something to be said here about at the moment, I don't feel there's a ton of reaches here. I don't think anyone's kind of gone too crazy. I'd say the hype for Marv at the 2-6, I could go either way, but I also know that Paul is a Arizona Cardinal, and so go get your guys, get the guys you're going to have fun with. So, like, at the same point, it's like you could sit here and say, "Oh, that could be like a steep pick," and then there's part of it that's like, "Well, he's a Cardinal fan. Why wouldn't you be excited about one of the best players that have come out of college football in the last 10 years? Like, go get your guy." Like, you can't hate it, can you? Because when you get a dream pick like that in the NFL draft, you want to get him everywhere, don't you? Pete, you've taken the first QB off the board, so I should update everyone since I picked Chris Olave. Calvin has taken Drake London. Stocks, you took Travis Etienne. Pestle has took Mike Evans. And then Pete, you've gone and taken Nico Collins and Josh Allen. So yeah, over to you.
Yeah,
talk us through
which
what's
is the
happening
very
there.
opposite of what I said my strategy was 5 minutes ago.
100%.
So I've already
He's gone rogue.
First big redraft of the year, and I've already pivoted. And that
I
was
love a
in the
man
back
that's
of my
so
head.
conviction. He loves that conviction.
No,
He's definitely going to stick
that
to
was
my
in the back
conviction
of my
here.
head that if Josh Allen made it to the end of the second, I would probably Josh Allen's probably the only QB I would take that high. And perfectly honest, the highest wide receiver for me on the board when I got to that point was Ayuk. And obviously, I don't want to put Ayuk with CMC because that's not going to help me. So I've sort of moved and had to pivot a little bit. So I've gone with the quarterback instead.
Okay. So gone against everything that you said earlier in the podcast.
Yeah.
I would edit it out, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it in and just make you look like you're a flip flopper.
If you want to tune into the JMD podcast, we do that a lot across the summer. We don't necessarily do it 5 minutes after we said it, but we will contradict ourselves over and over as the summer goes on.
I love it. So since you have picked Pete, Pestel's taken Derrick Henry, and then Stocks, you've broken the tight end seal with Sam Laporta. Talk us through it with Etienne and Sam Laporta.
So I also flip-flopped and said I was going to go wide receiver and then took Etienne because he was there and I felt like I needed a running back because I didn't know what was going to happen after me. And then I was hoping Derrick Henry made it back for a complete 180 on what I was saying about wide receivers and no running backs being there, but he wasn't. And then I figured I wanted to have a decent starter at wide receiver, running back, and tight end. If someone was there, and Laporta was there, and I felt not terrible value at the start of the third in a 12-teamer, so I went with what I thought would work. Although I'm not sure now.
I don't. I like it's about his ADP. It's about where he's going. Was tight end one last year. You can say he's the new king of tight ends. I don't hate it there. I think you got to build teams to be a little bit different, and you've got to have a thought about ways that you can get an advantage. So I definitely don't hate taking Laporta there, and I think Etienne is a solid pick given what he did last year. There's probably concerns he will get the same level of workload, but given the drop off and you didn't know what was going to go behind you, it's not a terrible thought. Ian, your mic. Oh, there you go. Ian seems to be like reading my playbook because, again, for the second time in this draft, you've kind of like taken the other player I didn't take. So I didn't go 3 wide receivers, so I was less likely to go Pittman, so I went Kamara, but I can totally see why you went Pittman here.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the board, and Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, no one knows what's going to happen there. They're going to stay. They're both going to stay. If they're just going to stay, who's going to be wide receiver 1? Achane, I want to see him at the backfield all to himself. Diggs, is he now wide receiver 2? Now Nico Collins has been paid. Same for DJ Moore. Now Keenan Allen's gone there, and Roma Dune's there. And if I'm honest, if I'd have had more time, I probably would have looked to have traded down there.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot. So I think I mean, I get it. I have Pittman easily being a wide receiver 1 this year. I kind of have him back to back with Olave, so I flip flop those two players, and I kind of went with I'll take the player probably with the safer floor at the start. I tend to go more safe at the top and then go more aggressive later on. So I see a world where Pittman outscores Olave 100%. But I probably want to lock in the floor of what Olave is going to get. He's going to be on his own effectively. And then on that same thinking, I went with Alvin Kamara. Very, very similar line of thinking. I actually have Alvin Kamara as my running back 6. So I could have easily punched the ticket for him in the second round, but I kind of knew he was going to fall into the third round. He could have even fallen into the fourth round, but I didn't want to risk it. So I feel comfortable punching Kamara's ticket in the third round. He's like easily, I'm looking at the board, he's the best player available on my board in a position where I have no one. Kind of a pretty easy. It's a pretty easy pick from my projections perspective. But Pittman was kind of right after him on points, so it's pretty close. But I had 2 wide receivers. I didn't need to go 3 there.
But looking at your first 3 picks there, Murf, and it's something that I'm always very conscious of when I'm drafting, and Pete will back me up 100% with this. Is bye weeks. So when you get to week 12, all 3 of your first picks aren't playing.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that I used to be more conscious of than I am now. The way I look at it is, if those 3 picks are still able and available and playing and have played all 11 weeks, I'm probably in pretty good shape going into week 12.
Ian's mildly obsessed with it. He gets very hung up on bye weeks.
Yeah, when they're late like that, I don't care. The way I look at it is, it's so late, like 12, 13, 14. I don't think is an area of the league where you can really get hung up on, because unless 14 is in your fantasy playoffs, then that is a different kettle of fish. Like, you don't want that. But I kind of look at it and think about, I'm going to draft the best team available. If those 3, it also means I don't have any bye weeks to worry about prior to that with these 3 players. So if these 3 survive the first 11 weeks and I get off to a really strong start, then week 12 shouldn't, in theory, matter all that much. But I'm also caveating there's probably going to be an injury amongst one of those, and I back the depth I pick up to cover me in a bye week anyway. So I kind of like, when it's that late, if it was like bye week 5, bye week 6, bye week 7, I'd care a lot more.
You'd be worried.
I'd be worried a lot more, because that's at a pivotal point of your season. At week 12, I just think there's 11 weeks of football. The likelihood that all 3 of those players are still 100% fit and able, then if they are, then I'm in a great spot. And I'm like, well, I can afford to probably take a week off. But I also don't think I will, because I think there's some good values. But yeah, don't get me wrong, it kind of entered my mind a little bit. And then I just thought, I don't really care. I just think it's so late. I just think, like, there is a strategy where you can take a lot of players in one bye week and tank that week, and then you're set for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So there is that.
It depends on what week 12 is for your season, doesn't it? If week 12 is crunch week, you can't afford to have your best players sat on the bench or sat on the bye when it's all or nothing.
Yeah, if you're winning in, getting into that point of the season, then yeah, and if I am, then I will be in a bit of a struggle. But if I'm not, then happy days. I guess we'll see. Like, we'll see how this pans out, because we'll do a review show if I'm back on. So it's all good. I better update the listeners here what's happened. So we talked about Ian's pick at the 3-6 with Pittman. Since then, we've had Devon Achane go at the 3-7, Lamar Jackson go at the 3-8, DJ Moore go at the 3-9, Rashad White go at the 3-10, Travis Kelce at the 3-11, Deebo Samuel at the 3-12, and then DK Metcalf at the 4-1, James Cook at the 4-2, and then now Jalen Waddle has gone at the 4-3. Stocks, who so far, whose team are you liking other than your own?
Well, I don't really like mine, so not mine. Cooper Cup. If Joel hadn't taken CJ Stroud then and gone wide receiver, I would have liked that lineup immensely. But I don't like quarterback early, especially in single quarterbacks, because in Superflex, I don't even take a quarterback early in that. So that's ruined, not ruined it, but man, I like Danny's team because 3 solid running backs and a decent wide receiver 2 as your wide receiver 1, I think is a solid lineup in 12 team.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree.
Good to know.
I like Team 12. I don't know who that is.
James,
like
James's team 12.
I like the start, and I think that's a couple of really solid wide receivers to add.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think that's it's definitely interesting. I think that's. I mean, like I said, I think all the teams here will be reasonably strong, and be what happens in the next few picks. Are you going to let you guys go when Pete you pick at the 5-1? So Ian, you're on the clock now. You're going to tell us who you're picking before you pick.
Yeah, I'm going to take Trey McBride. Mainly because I get to mess with Pete.
Fine.
Because Pete is so in on Trey McBride this year.
Well, that's fair. I can't hate that. I can't hate that. I'm going to do something I never thought I would do and punch Joe Mixon's ticket here. I punched Joe Mixon's ticket here just for a better balance at the. And I need someone who's not who's going to play him by in week 12. So I thought I'd get him.
I did have a small hope that he'd be on the board for me coming back, but
I have basically. Yeah, I mean after Mixon, there's a there's a bit of a drop off here in terms of running backs for me. So I'm quite happy to. Quite happy to just take him and then go like, right, there's my 2 starters, and then I'll load up with some middle range guys later on. So I'm quite happy.
Kenneth Walker fan.
No, I just think Zach Charbonnet is gonna take a bit more workload this year. I still think he's the lead back, but I just don't trust Seattle to run Kenneth Walker hard. He got a lot of workload last year because of the fact that Zach Charbonnet was injured. And actually, I just think Zach Charbonnet is going to get a lot of the 2-minute work. I think he's going to get a lot of the valuable work. I just don't see the ceiling. And I get Joe Mixon's not like the world's most explosive back, and I get that he's on his last legs. But I'm looking at like the running backs left. It's like Walker, basically, I think he's going to have his legs chopped a little bit. Connor, I don't think is going to last the season. Aaron Jones, I just don't trust a running back in Minnesota after what we've seen in the last few years. David Montgomery is effectively a 2-back. Swift, maybe.
Hurry up, Murf!
What?
I was waiting for you to say somebody's name and you didn't, and the clock ran out and I panicked.
Oh, okay. Well, you took Stephon Diggs. That is a big panic pick. Talk us through it.
I've gone upside purely because I know how good he is. And yes, Nico Collins and Tank Dell were there and they were good last year. But Stephon Diggs, I think, is an elite receiver. And I've gone upside because I didn't know the running back I wanted to get. And in hindsight, I didn't think Pestle at 2 was going to take Diggs. Pete definitely wasn't going to take another Houston receiver at the end of the 4th round or start the 5th. And I've picked the wrong player and I hope somebody comes back.
Okay. Well, Pete, make your final 2 picks, and then, fellas, thanks so much for coming on. Tell us a little bit about where people can find you, and we'll get you back on definitely later on in the summer.
Yeah.
First up,
Pete,
I do like Trey McBride, but when I've already got Josh Allen, there's only one tight end I want, and that's Dalton Kincaid, because that is a combo that I really wanted to put together, and that's what I was hoping would come back to me.
Fair enough.
And I'm going to take Brandon Ayuk as well, because he's just because he's full. I don't really like having a wide receiver and running back on the same team, but he's fallen way too far for me to let him go again. So,
yeah,
But I'll let Ian tell you where to find us.
Yeah, so we can be found at JMD Pod on all the socials. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe on YouTube as well. We've recently figured out how to do that. Had some teething issues, but we're there now. And we've got some really cool branding that we got done last week or the week before. So, yeah, give us a listen, guys. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, guys.
Thanks for having us on, guys. Good luck with the rest of the
It's been a
draft.
pleasure. Take it easy. All right. I'm going to switch out for our next guests. So we got two amazing guys coming on. One who's been a guest before, and one who's one of our patrons. He's quite new to fantasy NFL, but has been crushing it the last few years since he's been in the space. Joel, Danny, welcome to the show. How are we doing? Joel, that is an amazing setup you've got there, my man.
I thought I'd pull that out for you. I'm just out here in the kitchen watching everybody just do what they do, and it's quite a good time. Just before we do, happy to see you've gone 1 QB. You've finally seen the light, Murf. Like, come on, mate. Super flex.
Listen, I play all formats. I'll play 3 QB. I'll play 5 QB. I'll play any QB. I don't care. Like, I'll play 0 QB. Like, it's all good.
This is literally the second draft I've ever done with 1 QB. Like, I only started playing 2 years ago, and every one is super flex, except the only one that I've ever played in, which was 1 QB, is one of your leagues. That's it. So I'm doing this completely blind.
Well,
And
Stocks likes your team.
So I'm happy.
Stocks likes your team, man. So you're in a good spot. So, all right, I'm on the clock. So, right, Stocks, tell us about your pick. Tell us about Pollard, and then I'm going to have a little doozy. I think I know who I'm going to take, but I'm just going to have a little check just to make sure that I'm not being an idiot. And I'm not being an idiot.
Well, I wanted to grab another running back, and it was between Aaron Jones and Tony Pollard for me at this point anyway. But seeing how Minnesota didn't run the football last year or the year before, the fact that Aaron Jones was there didn't matter to me. It could have been absolutely anybody bar Christian McCaffrey there, and I didn't think Minnesota were going to run the ball much. And then Tony Pollard, I think he's good enough to work in the Tennessee system, and I really wanted another running back that would be serviceable, not on bye week 12, so I landed on Tony Pollard.
Okay. You're not worried about Tajay Spears at all?
I'm not, no.
Okay.
Not at all.
That's where you and I differ, my man.
Hey, look, listen. I'm prepared to be completely wrong on that, and this draft has gone sideways quickly for me, so it could be one straight in the bin. I don't know.
I think it's turning out interesting. I guess because we'll go on. I'll tell you what, because Joel's going to pick first. Danny, let's talk about your strategy and team here. Stocks likes your team. You've got 3 very, very good running backs, and then you followed up with Jalen Waddle, which is a solid pick. Talk us through your build strategy, what you're thinking.
It was sort of just the way it fell. So I sort of had projections for everybody, and the wide receivers I wanted were already gone, but there seemed value in the running backs. And I was looking at everyone else's team thinking, well, everyone else has only got 1 except for one of the teams. So I'll go for 2. And then the next thing, when it was coming around, there was White. I thought White was going to score higher than some of the other ones. And there was a lot of wide receivers, I would say, very similar in the same group. So I just thought, well, I can wait for another one on the next way round, and I'll take the one value that I thought was the running back, and I'd go a little bit different from everyone else.
Yeah, I tend to agree. For me, I have Samuel probably a little bit higher, but then once you but then after him, yeah, Metcalf, Waddle, Cup, Smith, you can kind of.
I didn't even want Waddle, to be honest, but I needed someone I thought that was going to be playing every week and not too risky. So I thought I'd throw him in first, and then I'll take a bit more risks as we go.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's solid. We should probably update people where we are. So after I took Mixon, we got Mark Andrews, Stephon Diggs, Patrick Mahomes went at the 4-11, and then Pete, as he said, took Dalton Kincaid to pair with Josh Allen. And then Brandon, I can't believe it's 5 tight ends off the board. That's actually like crazy in the first 48 picks. Brandon Ayuk, yeah, he did fall probably far too far in this draft. And then Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, Tank Dell, Zay Flowers is who I took at the 5-5. Ian took Swift. Higgins went at the 5-7. Johnny took Amari Cooper. And then Joel, you took George Pickens. So tell us about your build, what you're trying to do with this team.
Yeah, number 9 in the draft, number 1 in your hearts. The first time I've ever drafted a Falcon, you know me, I'm a Saints fan, Murf, and I particularly dislike the Falcons. I don't mind the Panthers and the Bucks, but so I feel genuinely sick about having that. So, maybe if I do win, it'll have an asterisk next to it. So I'm not feeling that. If I'd have given the choice and if I was paying attention, I'd have probably gone Gibbs there. However, you roll with what you've got. My team and my strategy, as always, Murph, is to pass the vibe check. It really is do I want to watch them succeed? In the case of Bijan, no. However, now I've got him on my team. So I guess a little part of me is going to have to keep an eye on a Falcon. Josh Jacobs, I think he absolutely passes the vibe check. I cannot wait to see him in green running up and down the frozen tundra. That's going to be awesome. DJ Moore, an obvious choice. I needed a quality wide receiver, and I think the Bears are going to be one to watch. Plus, I'm getting in before the Hard Knocks hype, so that's pretty cool for me. I will defend to death taking CJ Stroud here in this position because I want a piece of the pie from all of his receivers. That's the reason that I got CJ Stroud. I want to watch Tank Dell blow up. I want to see Nico Collins go for miles. It's going to be a super fun, happy time. And I've always been a big fan of Danger Russ Wilson, which is why I picked up Pickens. Because, again, just want to see the man succeed. I want him to spit in the face of Sean Payton, who left and then came back, did nothing, cried a bunch, and now we're going to see something interesting in Pittsburgh. So,
I mean, who
that being
doesn't want
said,
to spit in the face of Sean Payton? I'm with you. I think that's probably one
exactly,
of the best things you and I have both ever agreed on. So I think that's a healthy way to be on this pod. I love it.
The crazy thing here is there's been like this tight end rush, which is where I'm kind of struggling now. Luckily, the next best one on the list really looks to be Pitts, so I can avoid that completely. So 2 Falcons, gosh, I'd have to call an exorcist. So having a look all the way down here, I think the best possible choice for me is a guy who I love and is probably going to be a bit of a reach, but I'm taking Scary Terry because I think that Washington are going to be super fun to watch.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. You must be looking at my team like licking your lips at how great it is because there's so many Saints players on it.
I couldn't believe it, yeah, when you went back to back Saints. I would have gone.
You cried with pride, didn't you?
I'm not feeling Olave. I think he's awesome, but I like Derek Carr as a human being, or maybe not even as a human being, but not as my quarterback. I would like him to succeed elsewhere. So a great quote when we picked him up for the Saints, and somebody said, "I'm going to miss David Carr. If you need 4 yards, he's going to get you 8 yards, and if you need 10 yards, he's going to get you 8 yards." And that has always kind of stuck with me, where he's just, it looks like he's doing a great deal, but he's not. And I'm gutted because there could have been all sorts of players that have ended up in New Orleans. So, Olave, it was a bust for me last year. I think he's overhyped, but that's Derek Carr's fault.
I just don't think there's anyone else there.
By the way,
I'm running to the podium with this pick, by the way. So, I Dak Prescott at the 6'8". Thanks very much. I'll slam that pick all the way home. Cheers. I did kind of want Anthony Richardson. I'm not going to lie, but I'm cool with. And also there would have been another bye week 14 player, so I would have had 3 12s, 3 14s. That would have been like really super neat. But I'm cool. I'm happy with that. Danny, you took Joe Burrow and Christian Kirk. We should mention that. So
Kirk seems a safe option because I went for a couple of safe wide receivers and then probably more dart throws later. Joe Burrow, I wasn't sure. I was just looking at who was left, and I was looking at Prescott and Burrow, and I'm just hoping that he has a bounce back season and actually stays fit this season, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't think I have Prescott higher. I can't blame anyone in this range taking Burrow over Prescott. Like I just can't. Like I get it.
Prescott seems the safer option.
Yeah, I don't think you can. It's kind of like splitting hairs. It's like, you can. They're both relatively similar. I have Dak a little bit higher. I just think that offense is just so potent when it gets going, as we kind of saw last year. But it could also regress. This is part of having. As part of Jerry's world, like they can just always flop at any time. And Burrow, we've seen he's an elite quarterback when he's fully fit. So, don't hate that in the slightest.
I'm finding it hard to change the mindset at the moment because it's literally been dynasty, and then all of a sudden it's best ball. And while I'm doing best ball, all of a sudden I'm doing a couple of redrafts. So this is like I've only been doing this for 2 years, so my head's about to explode with all the different variations and all the different. And every time I do one of your competitions, there's some mad rules, and I'm trying to figure them out as well. Because I was in that one that Stock said was absolutely mental to do, and every person created their own rule. So I've made a mess of that one because I didn't go for the running back, so at early where I get all the points, but. Yeah, trying to balance them all and while still trying to learn and understand it all at the same time is interesting.
Right, you're doing so well because as I said, you've been playing really for 2 years. You're more of an FPL player, aren't you, Danny? So you've been doing this
for the sport, like the golf ones and mainly for football,
So I guess for those listening who are perhaps newer players, you have jumped 2 feet, head, whole body. You've literally like belly flopped into. I'm giving the imagery there to the crowd here. You've belly flopped really into this and gone all in. So like, what do you like most about NFL fantasy football? Why it's different?
I'm obsessed with stats and strategy. So like, I played a lot of the golf. So when I was on Twitter one time, and I just posted because I named like Jack and those guys from the golf side of things, and you sent a message because I basically posted saying I'd love to get into NFL, not a clue where to start, and then the next thing you posted a tweet saying, the next thing you sent me one of your books with how to get into NFL. And it's sort of, and then you sent me links to all the leagues that I could join, all the beginner ones, and that was a great place to just get started and sort of find your feet. And at the same time, then there was like people to follow on Twitter. And the next thing, I was listening to 10 podcasts a day and during work, and I was watching videos. And I don't really listen to any fantasy football or golf things anymore. It's completely NFL all the time, and I've sort of got a bit addicted. And I'm blaming you, I think. It's your fault.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I'm sure
even the likes of that. Johnny's on later. That's the Orkney Bowl trophy that I won last year in my second season as well. So I've got he's got trophies. I've got shields. I've got a ring somewhere. All kinds of stuff that Johnny sent from the Orkney Isles when I won that last year. And that was just pure luck. I scraped through in the 7. I think it was 7-7. Scraped through, and then all of a sudden my team just went nuts and smashed everybody all the way to the final.
I don't like. Yeah, there's always an element of luck when you play these sorts of games, but at the same token, I think you make your own luck. I looked at your roster; it was a different strategy. It's I think I'm a big fan of contrarian plays. Like you didn't just go with the safe option; you really sort of just went for big options and just took risks. And we talked about this on the charity show a couple of weeks ago. Like you've just got to swing for the fences. You've got to just build different, go wild and go big. And because it's such a big tournament that it's so hard to sort of get right. Like you've got to just go for it. And I think that's kind of the mindset of playing these big tournaments. So I love it. I think, mate, you've done really well. Like it's just amazing to see like how well you're doing, and how you're taking to it. Stocks, you got any thoughts? Just while I'm sitting here musing over a pick here.
When was the last person we mentioned going pick wise? Because I feel like we've had a few picks.
I think we got up to Joe Burrow, Terry McLaurin is probably it, and I mentioned that I took Prescott, and I'm sitting here musing over who I'm going to take here.
So after Joel raced to the podium to take Terry McLaurin, Jordan Reed went, Chris Godwin went 6-6, David Montgomery then went 6-7, Murf took Prescott. Hollywood Brown went 6'9". I took Keenan Allen at the 6'10". Then Calvin Ridley, Tennessee's new shiny toy, went 6'11". Zamir White went 6'12", followed by Najee Harris at the 7'1". So Pete went back-to-back running backs on the turn. Evan Ingram went 7'2". I then panicked and took Jordan Addison. That's going to be the name of my team, by the way. I then panicked. Jordan Addison at the 7'3". James Conner went 7'4". Murf was up. He then took David Njoku at 7'5". Ian then took Kyler Murray at 7'6". Kyle Pitts finally went at 7'7", although that might have been 14-7. Who knows with him? And then finally, DeAndre Hopkins went at 7'8". And Joel, you were on the clock.
Yeah, now seems like a good time to pull the trigger on a tight end, seeing as I'm not left with a great deal. I'm definitely not taking a rookie tight end. I've learnt my lesson from there. I think I'm just going to have to go George Kittle. He does play with all the passion of a wrestling fan, so I appreciate that, and I want him to succeed. And that's it. We draft with hearts, not brains here on my team.
Mate, amazing. Yeah, you can't argue at 7-9 taking George Kittle, and there has been a bit of a run of tight ends here. I was kind of hoping Ingram would make it back. I kind of wasn't going to punch the ticket on Njoku. I didn't want Pitts. I didn't want Kittle. And then I was kind of like, well, he isn't a tier above. And I was looking around at like my next pick, and I was thinking like, I've got about 6 guys I could have taken there, and I think most of them are going to come back. So I kind of like, well, I'll just take Njoku as a tier above everyone else that I had. So yeah, I played the vertical board, not the horizontal board there, which yeah, it is what it is.
I've punted on Deontay Johnson because I'm hoping he's going to be the target haul and everything's going to go to him.
He's got the investment, so yeah, I don't hate that at all. He catches everything. It's just whether or not he's going to get enough love there.
It's complete lottery at this point, but I went for the 2 safer ones first, and now I'm going to take a few more risks, I think, and see how it works out.
Yeah, I think this is the range now that you start to take risks. So if we're looking at the board, there's 3 teams that don't have a quarterback. And 3 teams that don't have a quarterback, and there's couple of teams that don't have a tight end. 2 teams don't have a quarterback. Jordan Love's just come off the board at the 8-1. So Stocks, you might get your wish as the last team to take a quarterback. Do you know you've been striving for?
Murf, where would you guys take Rice at the moment, based on what the situation is in a draw like this? Because someone just took him at 12, and he's one I was thinking of, but I don't know how much of a risk it is and how many games he might miss and all the rest of it.
We're kind of in the same territory as Alvin Kamara last year with Rashee Rice, right? Do you believe he's going to get a ban? If you believe he's going to get a ban, how much of a ban do you think he's going to get? And then, based on that, do you think he's a difference maker after that? There's a couple of things that swing it for me. One is the fact that I worry about the fact that they took Xavier Worthy, which makes me think that they must have an inclination that Rice is going to get banned. And then they've also got Hollywood Brown, right? KC don't really support 3 wide receivers and tight ends, so that's 4 players. That offense will not sustain it. It's only ever it's such a narrow tree as it has been for years. You've had Mahomes, Kelsey, 1 wide receiver, Pacheco, or running back. And I just don't see all these players getting love. So is Rice going to be the guy? And I sit there and think, well, that incident has happened. They've gone out and got Brown, and then they've gone and drafted Worthy.
And didn't they sign Hardman again yesterday as well?
Yeah, I mean,
I just mean as depth to cover. Like, they don't need to be starting.
Is that cover, or is that like kick returns?
Yeah.
You see roster moves like that, and you think, I don't really know what that is. I'm not scared about McCole Hardman. We've seen what it is before in in Kansas City. It was mostly special teams with a few plays. So I'm not really worried about Hardman taking any spots. I just think there's too much of the work of GMs that have kind of pushed me to thinking of, I just don't know if they view Rice as the guy after what has happened. I could be wrong, but I think there's a ban coming, and I think I would much rather sort of just be out of the business. But then at the 7-12, if he's the guy, like you're sorted, like the price you're paying there is so minimal.
And you'll get him on the cheap in Dynasty as well.
Yeah, exactly that. So I think it's definitely not a bad spot to be, in the slightest. So I get it. Like I'm all for taking a punt. I probably think he falls another round or two. So, but yeah, I think it's like I wouldn't get in on Rice. I'm not going to be taking too many shares. I think there's going to be a 3 to 6 game ban, and I think I'll just be more happy just to let others take that risk, and I'll fill the team with shots. But then I know what James will say is I'm taking a shot to go to the moon, and I don't hate that either. So it kind of makes sense. I love the Christian Watson pick and the Nick Chubb's picks, fellas. By the way, I think they're great picks in the 8th round. They were 2 players I was looking at in the 7th.
Comeback player of the year. You heard it here first. Probably not first, but you heard it again.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate it at all. I think they're solid picks. So as we're finishing up the 8th round, we'll keep you guys around for the 9th, and then we'll swap in some new faces. Talk us through the strategy. I guess we're going to you, Joel, first of all. Talk us through what you're planning to do with the rest of the draft, and where you think your team's going to end up now you're kind of eight picks in.
Yes, now we're in really kind of like fun territory, aren't we? Where you would go and get the guys that you just want to take a shot on. You've got your Weewos, as your friend and mine, Tom Smith, would say, your week in, week out players. So now it's the chaps that you want to slot in and out. Will they have the upside that you want from them? Again, with everything, I'm not looking at, they're going to X targets. I've never been analytical, probably why I haven't won that many seasons. But to continue on the track, and I'm surprised, and he probably won't make it to me at this point, I was umming over Xavier Worthy because, like you say, they did take him for a reason. I just have an ungodly dislike for Patrick Mahomes. And this is nothing against Patrick Mahomes. He's a great player. He's, in my eyes, he's like a Cristiano Ronaldo. He's that great. You kind of hate him a little bit. But it's not even that. I really liked Alex Smith. And I was proper like, he took a job in week, 17? And then I was like absolutely gutted. And I was like, absolutely not. This kid's going to be a flash in the pan. I've never been more wrong in my life, but I stand by that unnecessary hatred. So that's the only thing that stopped me from taking Worthy there. And my mate May is a big Cleveland Browns fan and will shed a tear when Nick Chubb puts through his 16th touchdown of the year. So going forward from here, I want to, obviously, you know me, I want an elite kicker, but I'll hang back a little bit. I don't even know if you put kickers in these, actually. Have we?
Let's kickers and defenses.
Oh, good. Yeah, well,
I would never,
right.
I would never invite you to a league where there wasn't a kicker.
Yep, you know me, man. I'd have 2 kickers. That's what a super flex should be. It should be 2 kickers.
Well, we've got 2 kickers in the FFPC, mate.
Yeah, I love it. But yeah, we're going to keep an eye on a few people. There is a weird amount. It's just QBs and middling tight ends at the moment that I can see roundabout there. I think I'm just going to try and load up on running backs and then hopefully some of them land. Maybe take myself a second QB. Who knows? Feeling saucy. I like that. Oh, saying that, I was just looking at running backs and that's starting to look a bit grim, isn't it? Nice that Dallas got Zeke Elliott back. Every team needs a mascot. But yeah, apart from that, gosh, this is slim pickings, isn't it? So worry is now the point that we're at after having spoken for about 5 minutes. God only knows. Take the wheel.
That's who I want to Brian Robinson next.
Ian and I've done this same thing again where I was tossing between Brian Robinson and Gus Edwards, and I shot for upside over floor, and also the week 14 because I already got a couple of week 14s. Which and I said bye weeks don't really matter, but I was like, yeah. And Tajay Spears went, which I think he's right up there in Jerome Ford. So we get this nice run of running backs of 6 in a row. So I'm trying to think where we last got up to. Deontay Johnson at the 7-10, Roman Dunze 7-11, Rashee Rice 7-12. It's in my projections. I do have Rashee Rice as the lead wide receiver, but I haven't factored in the ban or anything as of yet. So if you've seen my predictions and wonder why he's like up there, it's kind of why I've got him. But you kind of have to do it with what you know, and then you have to kind of adapt when you get new information. So, like, I don't know Rashee Rice is going to get banned. So to sort of do projections like he's not going to get, but like he's going to get banned and then he doesn't, doesn't make a lot of sense. Jordan Love at the 8-1. Marjorie Stevenson at the 8-2, Christian Watson I love at the 8-3, Nick Chubb I love at the 8-4. He said Jake Ferguson at the 8-5, Zach Moss at the 8-6. Keon Coleman at the 8-7. I took Jalen Warren, who I think is going to displace Najee Harris as the lead back in Pittsburgh, as the 8-8. We got Javonte Williams at the 8-9. He was a second-round pick last year. It's amazing how the mighty have fallen. JSN at the 8-10. Austin Eckler at the 8-11. Jonathan Brooks at the 8-12, Lad McConkey at the 9-1, Brian Thomas at the 9-2, Devin Singletary at the 9-3, which I love stocks. I'll let you talk about that one in a minute. Trey Benson at the 9-4, me taking the Gus Bus at the 9-5, again shooting for that upside and run first offense. Brian Robinson 9-6, Tajay Spears, who I love at the 9-7. I think he is probably going to likely win the lead job. Jerome Ford at 9-8, Xavier Worthy at the 9-9, Courtland Sutton, which I love at the 9-10. And then Chris, we've got Williams there at the 9-11. So, Stocks, talk about your team, and then we'll let these fellas plug themselves and say goodbye. Can't hear you, Stocks. You've gone quiet. You're on mute.
I was muted. Don't even know how that happened. JSN at the 8-10 because I like the upside from the end of last year. He's definitely the wide receiver 2 in Seattle. And then I took the lead back in New York because Saquon Barkley did it and Devin Singletary is as good as he is.
Devin Singletary is as good as Saquon Barkley. You heard it here first.
I needed that. Thank you.
He was good last year in his role that wasn't supposed to be his role, and he took it on and did really well. And he's definitely the lead back, and I needed a third running back. I genuinely actually almost took Tajay Spears there, Murf, just to have both Tennessee running backs and fill the hole completely. But I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Mate, I mean, you can't. You got to pick one lane or the other. You can't have both. That would be suicide in this sort of format. So, no, you've done well. Love it. Joel, Danny, thank you so much for coming on. Tell us a little bit about where people can interact and find you in the streets.
I am no place. I am just a regular human being. But if you do feel like it, at Tryhard Joel, Instagram at Born on Fire. I added NFL after being on here last time, so Born on Fire NFL is where I am on X/Twitter.
Yeah, for me, just to say, I suppose more thanks than anything, mate, for my new addiction. I love everything about it, but it's taken up way too much of my time. And if I was going to plug anything, it would be the charity that you're doing at the moment. So you haven't mentioned that tonight, so you should throw that in again tonight. But thanks, guys. And I'm sure I'm just on Twitter. I have no Patreon or nothing like that.
Oh, mate, well, it's a pleasure having you on, boys. I really appreciate it, and yeah, Crohn's and colitis, appreciate that message as well. Boys, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming on. We will chat later, and we'll recap this in a few weeks or a few months' time. So take it easy, fellas.
Bye, guys.
Cheers, guys. Mate.
And we got our next two coming on. We've got one of the guys from the Fields of Fantasy podcast, and then the creator of the Orkney board.
Good evening.
So, Pestle, Johnny,
Aye.
how we doing, chaps? All good?
No bad, thanks.
Good. So we've got you guys and sort of running a bit behind, but then this draft is also running a bit behind, so it's not bad. First off, I guess we'll hand over to you, Pestle. Tell us a little bit about your team and strategy so far, and how you're feeling at this point of the draft.
Really good.
He's stunned silence. I'll tell you what, while Pestle's sorting that out, Johnny, we'll go to you. This is why I love live podcasts. Johnny, how are you feeling about your team?
Well, I'd prepared it a lot better if you hadn't picked Zay Flowers and the Joku before they got back to me. But
come on.
You seem to be having a very queue, but no, it's not bad. I've maybe left a bit too long for running backs, but I do like Blake Corum, so I thought I'd just pick him up just now. Because Williams can't stay fit, so and he's a handy player. And I got a couple of nice wide receivers. I know I picked Lamar a bit early for everybody's liking, but he's basically another running back as well, so you can't really knock that back.
No, I mean you got a really strong wide receiver core: Brown, Cup, Cooper, Reed, Hopkins, and then Lamar Jackson to go with that, and Pacheco. You're not in a bad spot there.
No, obviously Ford will be okay to start with because I don't know Chubb's really going to be fit to start the season, but I might have to pick up another one. But like I say, I do like Corum and I like Ferguson. He's probably the second wide receiver for Dallas because he had a good few games last year. But I'm happy enough so far. Is Mark's gone? All right.
Is he dropped off? Has he lost his?
I do like Andrew Hopkins. You know what I mean? He's such a great player. I know they've got a new toy to play with, but the boy can catch anything.
He can, as will.
And I do have a soft spot for Jalen Reed, especially with signed jersey behind me from the Michigan Spartans. So I tend to draft him whenever I can.
I like Jaden Reed this year. I think it's a solid pick there. I think you can be. I mean, it all depends on the health of Watson, but I think both those guys are going to be more than viable this year. So I definitely don't hate that in the slightest.
Yes, get in.
Stocks for the audio. You better tell everyone why you've just done that.
So when I took Sam Laporta and it's a one quarterback league, I was like, I am stacking him with Jared Goff. I'm going to wait on it, and I'm going to be the last one to take a quarterback. And then Jared Goff didn't go at the 10-9. I was like, it's probably a little early for a quarterback here. There's definitely players. But then I thought, everyone has one. Go get your one. And I was like, yep, Jared Goff, thanks very much.
Yeah, I don't think it's early. I think you can be fine with that.
I just, of the quarterbacks left, we had Tua, which, Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, which feels absolutely horrendous, by the way. Justin Herbert's still there in fantasy football. And it's the love. Are we out on Justin Herbert? I know you are, Murf. But are we too far out at this point?
No. I think you can be out on him.
No, that's fine. I mean, I got my guy.
I've got him at like QB 16, 17, something like that, and I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with putting him there. These sleeper projections are wild that they've got him level with Lawrence.
Yeah,
I always want to screenshot that and go like, "Oh, hey guys,
hey you guys,
hey guys, what are you doing? Pestle, are you back?"
I am. I'm here again. Sorry for that.
Oh, he's here. No, it's all good, man. It's all good. It's good to have you here. How are things?
All good, thank you. We're just completely filled up now. TH Transfer Basketball Bonanza, which is lovely. So we're really happy with that. So thank you very much for everyone who's on board with that. We had a week off from recording, so we just had a record. I was very much hoping that Zach Moss was going to fall a little bit further to me in the draft there for my RB3. So we just spoke about him today, how we think he's been absolutely massive value this year. But yeah, all is good with us in the world of TH Fantasy Football and Fields Fantasy.
Excellent. Tell us about your draft so far. How are you feeling?
All right, I think. So, I mean, it seems people around me have read my board perfectly. I was really hoping to get ETN as my second pick, and then he just vanished before me. I made a schoolboy error in round 4 because I really wanted Brandon Ayuk to come back to me. I made the mistake of taking Mahomes, even though Pete had got Josh Allen already. So I just didn't read the board properly there, which was a rookie mistake. But yeah, I'm relatively happy. I've been stuck upon lots of running backs and wide receivers now, and see how the bench fills out.
Yeah, you got a solid draft going there. You took some flyers for wide receiver upside to go with your stable of Hill, Evans. You got Henry, you got Walker, and then I've just to prove how much I'm out on Walker, have taken Zach Charbonnet. As I did speak earlier, that I just believe that Zach Charbonnet is going to have more of a role in this offense, and I think I'm not saying he's going to usurp Walker, but I like the fact that Charbonnet is going to have a role, and if Walker goes down, which he has done in the past, then I look at the leftover running backs. I'm like, if I don't get another running back in this draft, I'm okay. I'm okay with Zach Charbonnet being my running back 5 here. Like I can sleep easy knowing that if I don't get another running back in this draft, I'm all right. So I did do something I didn't think I'd do this season and take Tyler Lockett as a wide receiver. I wasn't expecting to come into a draft tonight and draft Tyler Lockett, but everyone's pounded the wide receivers. Like I'm going to need to take a count on how many have gone, but there's got to be like 50 gone. It's got to be 5. Stop to take the air while I count.
I was backing you up with some clear many audios there. No, I don't actually know where we got to in who'd been taken. I mean, Zeke Elliott went at 9-12, Jacoby Myers went 10-1, Jameson Williams, who I think could go well this year, went 10-2. Then we had 2 tight ends back to back, Dallas Goedert and Brock Bowers. Blake Corum went at 10-5. Brock Purdy went 10-6. Jalen Polk at 10-7, who I like a lot this year. Murf took Tyler Lockett, as he mentioned. Chase Brown went 10-9. I screamed at probably deafened a couple of people and got Jared Goff at the 10-10. Then Rahid Shaheed went 10-11. Adonai Mitchell, AD Mitchell at 10-12, which is great value. Brandon Cooks, the forgotten man, at 11-1. J.K. Dobbins at 11-2. Then I took Khalil Shakir at 11-3. Romeo Dubes went 11-4. As Murph mentioned, he went and got himself a glass of Chardonnay at 11-5. The Pittsburgh rookie, whose first name eludes me, 1 second, Roman Wilson, he went the pick after Murph took Charbonnet at 11-6. Rico Dowdle 11-7, Chuba Hubbard 11-8, Gabe Davis went 11-9, and then cheers sleeper, Harrison Butker went 11-10. Oh, then TJ Hawkinson, the man without a timetable to return, went 11-11.
Yeah.
Are you still counting, Murph?
No, 58 gone.
Crumbs. Jaden Daniels.
58.
James has just taken a second quarterback. Sorry,
that.
Murph.
Yeah, I love that pick. Like for fantasy football, I debated that at the 11, and I'm thinking like it's a bit of a luxury pick when you've got Dak Prescott, because am I ever going to play Jaden Daniels? I'd need Dak to go down for that pick to be worthwhile. Whereas I think when you've gone late, like James has done with Jordan Love, you've got a viable switch option every week, which I like that. If you're going to go late, go and get 2 good guys. Whereas if you paid up for the elite, you shouldn't necessarily like get a second elite, like top 12 quarterback, because it feels like a bit of a waste when you can just stack your roster. So I love that. Johnny, you're picking up sort of all the running backs here late, as you sort of mentioned. You were a bit weak, and you've gone with Chuba Hubbard. How are you planning the rest of your draft here? Are you going to keep pounding the running back table, or are you going to try and find some value in other positions?
I've got my eye on I got mine on a tight end next, but doesn't get sniped. Who's a player I used to hate for a team that he played for, but he plays for a different team now, and I don't mind him so much. But I've had him quite a lot in the fantasy over the years, so hopefully I'll find out in about a minute or 28 seconds whether I get him. I'm not going to say him beforehand in case he gets sniped.
Watch Joel
I
take
noticed
all.
a lot of people have been taking players off your queue. Because whenever you put players up, they seem to get picked the next one along.
Oh yeah, I forgot my queue's visible. What a move.
Nice of everybody to tell you that one, eh? Yeah.
No, yeah, you could have left that open. I don't mind. Like at least it's. Maybe I knew it was there the whole time, and I've just totally like gamed people into taking people.
Well, that's it. I'm going to go Dalton Schultz as my
I like that
second
pick,
tight end
yeah.
because I like him. So, and he hurt the Giants, and I've got two players that used to hurt the Giants, one last year and one years before. So, probably the best idea, but they are good players. So,
yeah, I think if you stack them up, get your players there, I think you're in good spot. Definitely. So I don't hate that. Getting them. Pestle, you mentioned your charity league. Johnny, you run one, the Orkney Bowl. That has kicked off, and I think is everyone drafted now? Pretty much.
I think I've been at work all day, but I think there's maybe still three divisions still to go, but they're all in rounds 22, 23, so it's not far to go. So yeah, we did pause one because he got married. We'll let him off with that one, but he kept on picking on his honeymoon. So, but you got what you do for fantasy football, yeah. But no, that's the Orkney Charity Bowl. That's last year I raised money for an Orkney charity, Orkney Blind Trust, but the winner gets to choose the next year. And Tony Harrison, he chose Papyrus, which obviously helped the youngsters with suicide. So whoever wins it this year will choose a charity for next. I thought it was a good way of spreading the charities about. So we've got 160 entrants this year, not quite as much as Martin did, but 60 more than I got last year. So
you guys are doing amazing work with the charity leagues. It's amazing to see the amount of money that's been raised. Like Mark, you go first, and then Johnny, go talk to us about how much money you've raised so far this year.
So I think we're 20 quid shy of $2,000, which we're really happy with. We tipped just over 1,000 last year, but we've just been. I mean, I've said it on a few podcasts. I think I said it to you at the start of the off season, Murf, when we were talking about fantasy. We said the same to Matt the other week as well. It's just amazing how willing people are to kind of give and contribute as well. We've got a few people that seem to stick a tenner in each month, just adding to the pot as well. So yeah, we're really, really pleased with that. And the Beast of Memory Cafe that we're raising for, so Ed, who do a podcast at TH Fantasy Football with, it's amazing local charities, the Beast of Memory Cafe, helping supporting those living with dementia and their carers. And it's such a small charity that the money we're raising is helping to keep their doors open as well. Well, the same money we're raising, the money the whole fantasy community is raising is helping with that. So yeah, massively grateful and really, really pleased with everyone that's got on board. So thank you very much to any of you listening that are involved in that.
Amazing. And as for you, Johnny, how much has been raised for Papyrus this year?
I'm trying to go onto the website, but I think it's about 1,300, over between 1,300 and 1,400 so far. And I think there's still about 12 people to donate, and obviously some people are waiting until they get paid and stuff like that, which I don't mind. It's all for charity, and the page is open right until January, so they've got plenty of time to donate. If anybody else wants to donate, they can. But yeah, it's another great cause. I just like using Just Giving because everything gets done for you. You don't have to go anywhere near it. And they get sent the money out in regular intervals, and they've been great keeping in touch with me and sending me emails and anything I want to do to help raise more money and stuff like that. So it's been great. And obviously yourself, Murf, is one of the people that put the idea in my head between you and Matt with the JTT Cup and the Warrior Bowl. Taking part in all of them, the community was just so great that I just wanted to make a picky. Yeah, I just wanted to do my own bit.
Nah, so it's amazing.
Thank you for I've been absolutely useless at the FFCC, but It's a laugh. That's all that matters.
I don't think anyone on here tonight has done well.
I don't think I've won a first round. I got to the third round in the consolation last year, but I've never made it past the first round and the main one.
I think Paul.
But
Paul
you never
Pickin.
know. Maybe this year.
I think Paul Pickin. I think James might have got a few wins. I think I got to the third round once, and I go out the first round every year. It's Stocks. I think you went out the first round.
I am perennially a first round departee. I cannot get out of the first round in the FFCC. It's a joke.
It's amazing. It's like I don't seem to meet too many people that win that often in that competition, and then you think, well, someone must win it every year. like people do. Like it's just it's an insanely hard competition because one bad week, 2 bad weeks, and you're out. You can have the best team. It's like the playoffs. So, yeah, I think the fantasy community's done a great job. I think in the UK we have so many great fantasy tournaments. Now I'm looking forward to your guys' tournaments of drafting the Orkney Bowl. I quite like my Orkney Bowl team. I'll be honest with you. I was sharing it with the Patreons, and they were. Should have had Danny on to talk about this bit. Danny was insanely jealous of my Orkney Bowl team. He was like, I can't believe at the rounds you're getting values at. It's just like he was going 3 rounds higher in my draft.
I have had a few WhatsApp messages about that, yeah.
What about my team?
Yes, and there was one team that got 3 players in the first 3 rounds that were all first round picks last year in one draft. I can't off the top of my head name it, but I was thinking that's not bad. Like getting Joe Burrow in the third and stuff like that. And it's interesting scoring as well. So it's hard to get your head around all the random scoring.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read my team out, and then we'll go back to talk about this draft because we should do. I got Anthony Richardson as my QB, Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, Tyreek Hill, Michael Pittman. So I went with a mega Colt stack of QB, running back, and wide receiver. So I'm all in on the Colts. Is best ball. David Njoku, Alvin Kamara. Of course, there's a lot of similarities to this team. Christian Kirk, Jaden Daniels, Derek Carr, Daniel Jones, Jonathan Brooks, Rico Dowdle, Keaton Mitchell. He was like my last round flyer. Zach Charbonnet. Oh, he's turned up on this team as well. Xavier Worthy, Marcus Robinson, DJ Chark, Darius Slayton, Darnell Mooney, Rashad Bateman, Christian Watson, Darren Waller, and Taysom Hill. Because what best ball team doesn't have Taysom Hill on it that's worth anything?
I think I've got him too, actually. Yeah.
I think you've just got to, right. You've got to take him. We should mention, Mark, because you're here, about the nominated. Your podcast was nominated for an award last year, wasn't it? Tell the listeners who were living under a rock a little bit about that one.
Oh yeah, certainly anyone that was following us on social media is very well aware. I think we posted about 4 or 5 times every hour. So we're very lucky to get shortlisted in these Sports Podcast Awards, which was amazing. As soon as we were nominated, we knew that was as far as we were going because we were up against the likes of the fantasy footballers and CBS podcast. Yeah, loads of great podcasts. But we were just over the moon that we've only been doing it for 2.5 years. And so listening to like your guys' shows and some of the other UK shows is what kind of got us into it. We were very lucky that as Dowie and Johnny B at Fields Fantasy gave us the chance to kind of do a show with them. It was them that started up the whole of Fields Fantasy, so a lot of the credit sits with them. So yeah, giving us that and letting us take the wheel of the good ship Fields Fantasy and do as we've wished with it. We've really enjoyed it. And so when we're recording today, we were just saying we actually just quite like that once a week we've got some time to sit and talk about NFL and fantasy football and just have an hour out of the rest of our week talking about that. So yeah, we're very fortunate given the opportunity and we absolutely love doing it. I'm going to plug my pick in. There we go.
Love it. You've got a lot of wide receivers.
Yes, well, at this stage, I'm thinking if I've got Mahomes in, there is nobody I'm going to play over Mahomes any given week. So there is no point taking a backup quarterback. And at this stage as well, my main strategy in any redraft is I'm not taking a kicker or a defense at any point either, because I always stream them. So I'd rather take that gamble on sticking on a bench who could have that kind of breakout later in the season, looking for that upside potentially. So yeah, I'm stacking up on wide receivers and may look at see if we can get some running back value as well. But we all know the most valuable running back for fantasy next season will be someone who's going to be sat on waivers till week 2 anyway.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think it's risky going with the 1 QB strategy now. I was talking about this on a show recently, that with the amount of QB the amount of QB injuries. Well, I don't mind. I got 2, so if he can pick, it's pushing value down the board, right? The amount of QBs that get injured.
Oh, sorry, I was I'm glad I had a cue.
That's why I was getting shushed. Yeah, so the amount of injuries at the position, like, you just don't want to get into a position where you're relying on like Tommy Two Balls and like some of the options that were available last year. You're just like, you can't have that. Like, I just think you have to have a second, even if you've drafted an elite one. I can get the passing on a QB till quite late, but I think you've got to pick up like a Herbert, a Stafford, a Watson, a Lawrence. Like, I just think you've got to have that insurance policy, because if you're ending up with like QB 25 off waivers and there's an injury, like if Mahomes goes down, that's your team done.
Well, I was quite lucky last year that I ended up taking a couple of flies on when it came to waivers, and all that was left was, we were talking earlier, last year's QB 32, and ended up with dangerous Baker Mayfield when I'd taken Anthony Richardson a couple of places, and that worked out fine. But yeah, you're right. The chance of that happening is slim, and I landed my feet that. But it's a game of risk, and I like to play the risk when it comes to my quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's fair. Stocks, you want to update everyone where we are with picks? Because I've kind of got lost.
So with the 101, where did we get to? Gabe Davis, Stephanie Butker, Jaden Daniels. Okay, Marshawn Lloyd went 12-1. Justin Tucker then went 12-2. Danny took the first defense, I think, at 12-3. Tua went at 12-4. Dalton Schultz then went 12-5, as we mentioned. Curtis Samuel 12-6. Jerry Judy went 12-7. I was hoping he would make it back to me. He didn't. Murf took Demario Douglas at 12-8. Keandre Miller was next. I then took Xavier Legette. Rashawn Bateman, at 12-11. When the name goes over the numbers, it is difficult to read. Antonio Gibson went 12-12, and Jahan Dotson at 13-1. Big Mike Williams at 13-2. Pestle took him. I then took Jaleel McLaughlin. I think that's how you say his last name. I should know that. At 13-3. Josh Downs at 13-4. Murf then took Marvin Mims, which I hate for me, but love it for him. Brandon Aubrey went at 13-6. Trevor Lawrence went to Paul Pickin at 13-7. Troy Franklin at 13-8. Ty Chandler 13-9. Tyler Algier at 13-10. Jalen Wright at 13-11. Quentin Johnson and Pat Fryermuth rounded out 13 and started 14. The Commanders went 14-2. Wandale Robinson went 14-3. Evan McPherson 14-4. This is probably going to be terrible audio listening with all the bleeps. I apologize. Matt Stafford then went 14-5. Louis Reese-Zammit went 14-6. Khalil Herbert, the forgotten man in Chicago, went at 14-7. I don't know how people talk a lot in a big long stretch. Excuse me. Deshaun Watson Murph then took for his second QB at 14-8. The Niners went at 14-9. Murph slowed down. I took the Baltimore Ravens at 14-10. Darnell Mooney Pestel took at 14-11. The Seattle Seahawks and Justin Herbert went at the end of 14 and start of 15 to Pete. Then Pestel autoed because I told Murph to shush at 15-2, and he took Cole Kmet. I then took my second quarterback in Aaron Rodgers at 15-3. Jake Elliott at 15-4. The Cowboys at 15-5. Murph plugged in a perennial top 5 there. Russell Wilson, who's dead to me, at 15.6. Roshan Johnson at 15.7. The Chiefs at 15.8. Tyron Tracy at 15.9. Baker Mayfield at 15.10. Josh Palmer at 15.11. Deonta Foreman, is that?
Yep.
Deonta Foreman at 15.12. The Jets at 16.1. Kimani Vidal, is that right? Yeah. Kimani Vidal at 16.2.
Clock as well, by the way.
Yeah, you got 12 seconds.
It's fine. Watch this. I had someone to pick. I'm going to do this just for giggles.
Michael Thomas.
Ben Sinnott went 16.3. Hunter Henry 16.4. Tyler Bass went 16.5. Keontae Mitchell at
Keaton Mitchell.
Keaton Mitchell, sorry, 16.6. Tyler Conklin 16.7. Murf took Ricky Pearsall at 16.8. The guy I was going to take went Michael Wilson. Sorry, he went at 16.9. I then took Michael Thomas because he's going to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers and have the year of his life at 16.10. Jermaine Burton, yeah. Jermaine Burton went 16.11, and then Young Wei Koo was Mr. Irrelevant to Pete at 16.12.
And quite a few of us didn't take kickers. I am proud of us. Mark, Stocks, myself, Ian, Paul, Joel. Oh no, Joel did. James didn't. So yeah, go us. Look at us. What a grown-up draft. Thoughts? Let's go to you, Johnny. Johnny, thoughts on your team? How you feel you did?
Well, probably Franklin was a bit of a rush pick when I realised I had about 3 seconds until my timer ran out. So I would have maybe picked a different wide receiver, but hey-ho, I might pick him up in free agents because he didn't get drafted. But no, I took Tyler Bass with the last pick because he's a bloody good kicker. And to get him in the last pick, you can't really argue with that, even though he did miss a few kicks in the playoffs, but we're not going to go that far. The Kansas City Chiefs defense is usually quite risky, and obviously the defensive coordinator is a bit of a genius. Matthew Stafford has got not bad lineup for week 14, so keep him there unless Lamar gets injured. And play him in week 14 if I have to. And yeah, I'm happy enough with my team. We'll see how it gets on, obviously, but yeah, to mind and keep an eye on the waivers. That's the problem with so many leagues, but that's a fun part.
Mark, how do you feel your team went?
Oh, it's the winning team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm relatively happy. I was glad to get Mahomes where he did, because for me he's still a tier 1 quarterback. I was happy to get Ingram as low as he did, because for me he's on the bubble for that tier 1, tier 2.
Yeah.
When it comes to tight ends as well. Austin Eckler is a name that I think he will. I can't work out if he's going to be a bargain, a bust, or a fair value, because he's got all the possibilities in within there. And was he banged up last season? Is he going to be a rookie quarterback's best friend in Washington? Him and Daniel's going to be a great tandem. Who knows? So yeah, Austin Eckler is going to be a fantasy unknown, I think, this season. So yeah, relatively happy with that. I think I'll be watching waivers early on for another bit more running back depth though.
Yeah. Stocks?
I don't want to end the draft and go to the league matchups because I am fearing the worst with my team here.
That's all right. Sleeper projections are wrong, so you're fine. Just ignore them.
Yeah, that's true. We pointed this out last year. My team is going to win because they were all projected. Oh no, wait. No, that's wrong. They're all projected high, so this is going to be. I don't hate it. I think I've got a few upside picks. I was pleased with my Jared Goff late, and yeah, I'm not overly enthusiastic about it. It started well. I panicked a bit, and it got out of hand. Is how my draft went. But,
fair enough. I don't hate mine. I'd have liked probably a slightly better RB2, but You know, I'm not unhappy with Mixon, and then I've got Warren, Edwards, and Charbonnet behind, so I don't feel too bad there. I have a lot of wide receivers on by week 14, which is going to be fun, but that's 14. I don't care. I mean, the Pearsall pick will be interesting because he's either going to be, if one of the San Francisco wide receivers gets traded, then I've hit the lottery at 16-8.
That was exactly why he was. I was hoping to be my last pick, Pearsall, for that exact same reason. He could be really, really good value there if I goes elsewhere or the negotiations go sideways.
Yeah, so you know, it's kind of like just throw it up there. Mims, I think, can go off this year. Douglas is probably the safest pick you're going to get there in that range. I don't really love Lockett, but you know, whatever. He's going to be fine. He'll be a top 35 wide receiver. It'll be the most boring top 35 wide receiver finish we'll see, but he'll do it. And then I like the other three. I wanted Ingram, I'm not going to lie, but I'll take Njoku, and happy with Dak in that range. I think it's going to be an interesting league. I don't think there's a clear favorite, but I'm interested to those listening. Please drop your comments in the video or online. Let us know what you think. Do you have a favorite? Who do you like best? Joel took 3 tight ends in the end, so clearly he's winning. I think he sort of gave up after he was on. He's like, I'm done. He did get the best kicker though, so I'll give him that. Gents, thank you so much for coming on. Tell everyone where they can find your work and pods and where they can interact with you on the Twitterverse.
So you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at th_fantasy_NFL. We've been very quiet last couple of weeks. We've got a couple of quite exciting things in the pipelines through the end of June and July. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And you can also find us on Fields of Fantasy, available wherever you get your podcasts, as is the trope when it comes to all things podcast. So yeah, check us out there as well. But thank you very much for having us on, guys. Really appreciate it. Really enjoy being on with you.
Oh, definitely. I'll need to come back on your show at some point, so we'll sort that out and we'll chat more. Johnny, tell us a little bit more about the Audible, where they can get in contact with you, and you've got a podcast for it as well.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple of podcasts, but we don't really have many subscribers because it's mostly to do with the league. Like we've got around the Orkney Bowl, which is a weekly roundup of what's happened in the actual Orkney Bowl league, which is a 96-team league with promotion and relegation. And obviously, I sort of produce the Pork and Pay show, which is on a Monday at 12 o'clock, run by a couple of players that take part in the Orkney Bowl. One lives in the Philippines and one lives in England. So 12 o'clock on a Monday seems to be the best time we can actually do a show. But luckily, I'm off, so I'm in the background and just getting everything ready for the screen and hope nothing cocks up, which usually something does. One of them's usually high, but I'm not saying which one. But no, it's a bit of a fun show, and obviously I'll be doing the draw, the spin the wheel on this Monday at 12 o'clock show for the Mystery NFL GLC, signed GLC for everybody that's donated so far. So somebody's going to win that. So hopefully it's in the UK, so it doesn't cost too much to post it. But you can find the Orkney Charitable as Ork Charitable as I think that's the handle for Twitter. I can't mind off the top of my head, but you can also find me on the Bowl Orkney. That's my Twitter handle, so you can find the link on that one as well. So.
And the Jersey draw is very well timed because it's my birthday on Tuesday. So winning that would be a very nice early birthday present to me. So
it's not going to arrive the next day though.
It's okay.
Not from Orkney. It's not anyway.
It's okay. I can wait a few days. I don't mind getting late presents. I'm good. So yeah, good timing for that. Fellas, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for taking part. I will come up with a suitable prize for the winner of this. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I tend to always pull something out of the bag at some point. It might even be one of these really cool t-shirts that we'll do, or something. I don't know. We'll have a thing.
I do have a couple of nice t-shirts already. So.
You do, yeah. You've been the champions a couple of
I've
times.
got the listener one, and I've got a couple of other ones. And I got my New York Giants stock arrived, and that was awesome. It's now far too big for me after losing nearly £40, but I still wear it all the time. So.
That's amazing. That's so good. Stocks, any final words before we let these two go, and then you and I wrap?
Thanks for coming on, fellas. I'm just looking through the sleeper projections, which I know are never real, but I've got a very middle of the road team here in for week 1 projections, so not too disheartened after seeing the truth that sleeper spit out on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, I've got the choice of Josh Allen and Christian McCaffrey week 1. That'll be fun.
I don't think, however many times I tell myself that sleep, particularly win percentage projections, are completely pointless, but it's impossible to not sit and watch them constantly through a Sunday evening as if they actually matter.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
That's where you go wrong. I don't look at them. I genuinely, I'm in too many leagues to do it. So I just don't. I just watch the games and I check them out like before I go to bed on Sunday, and just go like, I'll just have a look at a few and just see how I'm getting on. Playoffs is obviously very different, but yeah, regular season, I just don't bother looking. Joel, I don't even look at the Kong League. Sorry, mate, I don't even look at it until he always does like a 1st to 100, and like I never bother looking until like the next day. Just because it's done. The way I look at it is, it's like, unless there's like lineup changes at 9:25, I'm just like, it's out of my hands. So what will be will be.
Yep.
That's how I see it. But fellas, thank you very much. Stocks, you and I are going to wrap up with some questions.
Yep.
Cheers, fellas, for catching up.
Cheers, man. Cheers, Stocks. Thanks for having us on.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
There's been a few pieces in the chat. So few questions in here. Do we think Shakir over Curtis Samuel? I'm on the Curtis train this year. You pick Shakir. What are your thoughts?
I liked the way he played last year when given the chance, and Curtis Samuel has never really been my tipple. So I took what I liked over what I didn't, basically. It's like when you go to a pub and they've got 2 beers, you're not going to choose the beer you don't like over the beer you do. It's a terrible analogy. It's tough. It's 20-10 here in the UK. We've been rolling a long time. But yeah, I think Shakir profiles as a better receiver for me. I think Curtis Samuel's too gadgety for the playbook in Buffalo. And I think Shakir actually, yes, I know they went and got their guy in the draft, but I think Shakir has a good chance to be the one to start with, at least.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's the incumbent, right? So
Yeah.
I always like the incumbent in that situation. I think he's got a good opportunity there. Same person has bet me £20 that the OCB charity or FFCC charity, that squad will finish higher than mine in the OCB. You're on. I will DM you. We'll come up with what charity it should go to. How about this? If you're still watching, if you win, we can put it to the Orkney Bowl. If I win, we'll do it to Crohn's and Colitis. That seems like it's a fair outcome, but we will. Let's do it. There we go. Right, we're in. We're locked in. It's done on audio, so no getting away from that. So yeah, if there we go, because then Johnny's got a rooting interest. So if you finish higher than me, and how about if neither of us make the playoffs, then we'll do a donation. You can donate to the Orkney Bowl, and I'll donate to the Crohn's Colitis UK, and we'll do that. But yes, I love it. Definitely just for charity and fun banter. I love that right there. Any final thoughts from you, Stocks? We've been going a long time. It's a long show, but I've had a lot of fun tonight. This is a fun show to do every once in a while.
It has been good. I enjoyed it. I liked the fact that only 2 people came in at once. That was well done, sir. Otherwise, because we have had times in the past where there's been way too many cooks in the tiny kitchen that is 5 Yard, and it's got out of hand. But I think you managed that magnificently, bringing only certain people in. It reminds me of the time we tried to do a live 32 team draft where everybody phoned in, and we had somebody in a car somewhere, I think, that broke down Midwest. Didn't really know what they were doing. Yeah, that was wild. If you haven't listened to that, I think it was probably 3 or 4 seasons ago now. Murph and I did it was when we were in the studio. Murph and I did
that's
a
at least
30.
5, because you think 4 years ago was COVID.
Okay. Back when
It's got to be
5
at
yard
least 5, maybe
was a,
maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
it was a war machine, and we decided to take on the impossible task of a 32 team mock draft, round 1 mock draft, where everybody picked from a team. So there was, I think it was 27 or 28 people were dialing into our Zoom call back then, and it just to organize that on a scale of absolute magnitude when we were a tiny outfit in my mother's garage. And if you are new listening, yes, we used to record together in a purpose-built studio in my mum's garage. That was a hell of a task. So this was a lot more low-key and fun. No, it wasn't more fun. It was just easier to manage. So I think you did very well there.
I feel like I need to go into the archives, find that episode. I don't think we'll still have the downloadable version of it. So I almost feel like we need to resurface that episode.
There's a small chance I have that episode on my external hard drive.
Do you know what? If you still have it, post it out as and post it with no context, so that only those that are listening to this one will get it.
Well, no, yeah.
And everyone else will be like, "What is this random drink?"
It's also about 4 hours long as well.
I know, it will totally throw people, and it would be like a testing of the loyalty of people. And so the throwbacks, people go, "Wow, I remember this." We should do like a from the archives every few weeks. We should just drop like an absolute banger from the past.
But it is absolutely useless information at this point. It's just an hour of your life you'll never get back because it's irrelevant.
I disagree. I think there's some really good episodes in the archives that are very entertaining and funny, and yeah,
it's true. I don't disagree. I just there's a lot out there. There's a few shows to go through.
Yeah, I think it's almost 850.
Which is wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I've enjoyed tonight. It was great connecting with friends and having all our guests. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much. Even if you didn't come on because you didn't want to, or you're just happy to draft, like, thank you for drafting. It's been great having everyone here. This is gonna be a fun league. It's kind of why I wanted to do it as a league, because I was seeing the people that were coming in. I think this is just gonna be a fun league. Like, it's gonna be a fun league. It's a good skill set of people. Yeah, definitely great to see Danny on Danny's first NFL podcast. He said to me, he's like, "I don't really know a lot about NFL fantasy." I was like, "Mate, you won the Auto Bowl. Come on."
Yeah.
Don't be modest. Come on, it's all good. But yeah, it's been great. I love it when we have shows like this that are just a bit different and off the rails, but a lot of fun, and we get a lot of people on. So no, it was very good and well needed.
Yeah, shout out to everybody who's watching as well, because a lot of people tuned in to watch tonight, which is really big, and we appreciate it. If you fancy hitting the like and subscribe button over on the YouTube, it really does benefit us, because we can get more people on and reach more people and have bigger and better shows like this. If you are listening via the audio, we appreciate you hanging in with us. It got a bit wild at times, but if you start listening and you think, well, this is weird, I need to see it, well, guess what? You can head over to YouTube or Twitter or X. It will be there, I think, or Facebook. It's in one of the places. It's definitely on YouTube. So if you do want to check us out on the YouTube for this episode, I think it's definitely worthwhile, with there being a draft board for you to see.
Definitely. And it's definitely the YouTube. Definitely the YouTube.
Definitely the YouTube. Hit up the red play button and enjoy the visuals.
And hit the subscribe. You don't have to pay for it. You can just, it just means like a like if you're very new to the YouTube, as we're now going to call
it. It's the YouTube.
The YouTube. I'm Donin, for those who haven't seen my Champion of Champions t-shirt that I won last year. I thought, think like a champion, act like a champion, dress like a champion, and then I will be a champion. And only 2 of those things happen.
Yeah, which is why I'm wearing a New York Giants hat. That tells you all you need to know, Rush Nation. It's a fashion accessory and nothing more. That's going to do it for today's show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Until next week, as always, don't forget, keep rushing.